Welcome back. This is Daybreak, and thanks for staying with us. The hashtag on X is Citizen Daybreak. The SMS code is 22422 at Citizen TV Kenya and at ABDUCTION. Senator Richard Onyonka on my far right is the senator representing the county of Kisii. Good morning.
Good morning, Ayub.
Thank you for your time.
I'm happy to see you. Thanks for welcoming me again.
Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Next to him is Joshua Nyamore. He's an advocate of the High Court. Good morning.
Thank you, Ayub.
Lovely having you.
I'm privileged to join you.
A pleasure for granting us your company on the broadcast. And Wakili Hilary Sigei represents the county of Bomet. Good morning.
Good morning, Ayub, and thank you for having me this morning.
Asante. Dr. Martin Olo, Associate Dean, Daystar University School of Law, will be joining us here on the broadcast shortly as we discuss the state of the broad-based arrangement. But first, gentlemen, we begin with a look at the front pages of the dailies. The Standard says repressive regime, and this is in relation to a report by the United Nations, which was tabled during the Council's 49th session in Geneva between 28th of April and May 9th, 2025, which details dramatic surge in abductions, torture and killings of activists, medical professionals, lawyers and journalists, especially during the Gen Z-led protest against the controversial Finance Bill 2024. It also dates back to some of the other reports by the United Nations, including the watchdog reports during the Grand Coalition government in the aftermath of the 2007-8 post-election violence, which left more than 1,300 Kenyans dead, as well as the Rivayala story and how civil society expressed concern about the TJRC report, which was never implemented, and bodies that were dumped in Rivayala, and the lack of attention from authorities to investigate all those cases spanning across 3 successive administrations. Senator Richard Onyonka, first to you. It's concerning, isn't it, even for the state of Kenya's standing among the community of nations, given the catalogue of human rights violations?
When you look at this report, the truth is, the answer is yes. The way I look at it is that we've got this, what I call the historical bad habits. And the report basically goes back to President Kibaki's time, and you come back to Uhuru's time with President RUTO, and obviously you have the issues coming up under the current administration because of the abductions, extrajudicial killings and all that. My honest and sincere hope and prayer is that some of these things, it has reached a time now we must decide whether we're going to fix them once and for all, make sure we have restorative justice, make sure that there is compensation given out to all these people who have been violated, make sure we identify them, and make sure that we give their families closure. The truth is, it's the big elephant in the room for our country. There are 2 things that are now coming out. One is corruption, of course, which is number 1. The second issue is violation of human rights. And for me, it's a sad state, because I believe that when you look at the early 90s coming on, particularly when you look at President Moi's regime, in fact, the analysis that has historically been given is that President Moi's regime was a bad regime because there were violations of human rights, and all these issues were considered to have been President Moi's Achilles heel. My point is, all our administrations have actually had these issues. The reason why in the 60s and 70s there was a need, and why you have all these groups of, even in Parliament, the Seven Sisters, the Orengos, the Mukisa Kituis and all that, if you look at their reports, they were always talking about violation of human rights.
Okay.
When you come to President Kibaki's administration, which nobody seriously zeroed in and looked at whether that was the case, if you look at the report, is where it comes out. All these administrations have had these issues, and my honest and sincere feeling is that we now need to be honest with ourselves. We now need to agree, if possible. I've always mentioned this elsewhere, and I've said, let's have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission so that we can successfully look at the names, the people, the individuals, the families that have been affected, and how these crimes took place
Okay.
to make sure that this doesn't happen again. So I am actually very happy that President William Ruto has pronounced himself that he is no longer going to be party to abductions. At least the impression I get is that he has owned up. And I hope that in his owning up, he will take responsibility. And in the process of taking responsibility, we'll have restorative justice so that we can then compensate the people and the families that have been violated, so that at least some of these families can have closure.
Okay. And Joshua, the senator talks about how relevant the Truth, Justice and Reconciliation Commission was, but its recommendation were ignored by the Kenyatta administration. I mean, isn't this not an open embrace and a continuity in human rights violations in our country?
Yeah, Ayub, human rights is, I speak about it passionately because not only as a lawyer, but I've been an activist on human rights issues. I'm actually in class even now as a student of human rights law. And you know, human rights, as the Senator is saying, has been a big issue in this country from our historical days, right from the colonial days. And then, you know, we inherited what I would refer to as colonial systems that, you know, have endured through the regimes. But there is something that it is important to note about this report. It basically reveals how Kenya is being open about, you know, systems and incidences of human rights abuse. You know, we have, for the first time, a president that has actually come out in public and accepted that we have a human rights problem. And you know, he has made firm commitments. The president spoke about it even yesterday and said that we have a human rights problem in this country, and it is not going to be business as usual. The president has, you know, committed to take action. But beyond that, the president has, there are certain things that the president has done. For instance, one big thing that this president has done in the last few months, actually weeks, is the appointment of Professor Makao Mutua as an advisor on human rights issues. Professor Mutua is a respected human rights scholar globally, but especially in Africa. This is also the government that has appointed, you know, a minister in charge of, you know, justice and human rights issues. Pareno, I mean, a PS, Pareno. Apart from the fact that we have a new Attorney General who has, you know, been a very professional lady. And so we also see that there are cases coming to court. For instance, the Bupendo case is now moving in court, apart from what was happening previously. I read in the newspaper yesterday about police officers who were fined 100,000 for keeping, you know, an arrested person in a cell, in a dark cell. So we have progress. What we need to do is that we need to continuously document these facts and evidence. We need to ensure that due process is carried out. We need to ensure that we strengthen our legal system. We are still a young democracy compared to, you know, other countries. Okay. We need to ensure, as I finish, we need to ensure that we also avoid sensationalism and that we encourage, you know, reporting. Any small incident of human rights. And finally, we need, as a country, to engage in, you know, respectful dialogue on human rights. Because it's not only the government. You've seen the violence that, for instance, that we have seen in Homa Bay.
Okay, point made.
Yeah.
In the context of Homa Bay, in your submissions then, Wakili, does this answer who is behind the abductions, given the statement made by the president yesterday, and why they were abducted?
The president had an opportunity to respond globally to the issue. I think it is important that there is follow-up and there are studies and, you know, where accountability can be reached at, that there is accountability on specific officers and individuals. And I see, for instance, finally we are having progress on the Bebupendo case. That is accountability. We are hoping that we will have progress on cases that were touching on last year's demonstrations. And this is how we develop a human rights framework. This is how we develop a human rights culture, by ensuring that we start the dialogue, by ensuring that we follow up on commitments of public officials, the way the president made a commitment, by ensuring that we dialogue, by ensuring that we strengthen systems.
And there was an admission on his part that the government knew about the abductions.
The president, I'm not sure about that,
yes,
but I know that the president admitted that the fact that there were abductions in this country.
And the admission, then what happens? There must be answers and accountability, is it?
That is what now we need to follow up. And I think journalists have a role to play.
Yeah.
As human rights scholars, we have a right to, we have a duty to continuously document some of these things.
Okay.
And for me, this report is a very positive report.
Okay. And Wakili Sigei,
Yes, Ayub.
you happen to be another lawyer as well on the bench. What do you make of this? I mean, this gets back to the Grand Coalition government.
Hello everyone, hello guys. It's a new day, it's a new vibe. You have all seen that our President RUTO, he has said that he's ending abduction in Kenya. You all know that the cases of abduction, it has been so high, and it has been something that everyone has been crying about. And today we thank God for the good news that he's ending abduction in Kenya. And let's pray to be so. It has been always at Kati Afwande Lifestyle. Kindly don't forget to subscribe, like, comment and share. And don't forget always to tell a friend, to tell another friend to come and watch a channel where we drop news and legit things. Thank you for my new subscribers, and thank you for my channel subscribers always. Be blessed. Bye and see you soon.